Everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching and listening here in the United States or across the world. We're grateful to have you with us. If this is your first show or if you've been with us since the beginning, if you can do us a big favor and give us a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, reshare, repost, and even maybe take out your phone if you don't already have it out and share the Voices for Voices podcast with maybe 25, 50, 100, 200 contacts in your phone. We greatly appreciate that. The best thing about all those are that they're all free to do. So they don't cost a thing to do. Uh, so thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us for over 530 episodes. It's really something what you've allowed us to do and given us empowerment to come to you, whether you watch or listen. And again, that the Voices for Voices podcast is everywhere you listen to podcasts. So wherever that may be, if you're at home or on the go, you can find our show. And we're just yeah, just grateful to have an opportunity to do this. Not too many people do, uh, and not too many make it this far. There has to be a drive and determination, which we have at Voices for Voices, and you have the demand to want more episodes, more shows, more topics, more experiences, more guests. And that's what we are bringing you. So thanks for being with us. We have another day of smoke from the Canadian wildfires that's blown into several states here in the United States. So it's made air quality very poor. It's caused a lot of events like baseball games and practices uh, be canceled because it's just not safe to be out. And even if you have a pet and you're walking, as we do, we you know pets have lungs too. And so we try to keep our dog Lucy outside for the minimum amount of time because again they have lungs too, just because they're a dog or not another pet. Um, so if you are affected or have been affected by any kind of a natural disaster, spilling of chemicals, which happened, I believe, in East Palestine, Ohio. I don't know if it was a year or two or more ago. Uh, or if we're kind of downstream and have wildfire smoke kind of drifting into the area, has that hazy, foggy look. Uh, and obviously the smell can smell that. So we want everybody to be safe. Uh, I think we can all agree that no matter where we're at, we want to be safe and we want others to be safe as well. Uh, the other day had a uh, little rough of a mental health day. Um, Family friend had had passed away, uh, and they had his calling hours and his service. the other day, and so I went with my mom, and man, I say this a lot, but getting older stinks. Uh, the older you get, the older other people get, and sometimes people pass away, and and so to be uh, cordial to the family, for able to do a visitation for the calling hours. Um, it's a kind thing to do. It's not at the top of my list by any stretch. Uh, and it's an individual is an extended family member, my parents, and over the last, I don't know, probably like 10, 15 years or so. Uh, he and his wife, my mom and dad, they would go to American baseball games. They would go to American baseball spring training, which is where uh, in Arizona or Florida, where the players practice and they do their training before the real season starts. And so my parents and the individual and his wife and another couple, they've done that a few times. Um, I went at least I think one time because the team that we follow, they started their spring training in Florida, and then they had an opportunity in Arizona, and and I know I went to at least the Arizona one at least once, and it was just a good time, hanging out, laughing, and I remember uh, American football. Uh, he had uh, he had some extra tickets, so he asked my dad and myself if we wanted to go to a football game, American football game. So we said sure, and I mean, fantastic seats. I mean, they're just great, and it had to be maybe two sections over from us, and generally the same row, close enough that we could see. And different sporting events, fans, dress up, and that I think makes it a little bit funner. And so we saw this individual, and he was he had the velour pants, the jacket, the hat. I think he even had a cane. And so our family friend and my dad, they named him, Pimp Daddy, uh, just as like in a fun way. And so throughout the game, when there would be a good play that would happen for the team we were rooting for, he would stand up and, look around and people would cheer. And towards the end of the game, we weren't winning. And it was plain to see that we weren't going to win. So we got up and we were going to head out, and our family friend was like, "Hold on, let's go see Pimp Daddy and give him a high five." Uh, and then let me also just say, like, we're not condoning being a pimp. Like, that's that's not what this is about. This was not about that. And so we went down and we shook his hand, uh, and then we left. And that's one of the memories I have with our family friend. He's in our family. He's just an extended cousin. Um, so uh, so that was interesting because then just about every time we would see him, he would he would bring that up, and we would just joke and laugh about it because it was funny. I mean, because my dad and the extended cousin. Yeah, they were like waving at him during the game, and he was pointing his stick. I mean, it was just, I don't know. It it was neat just to like have a chance to laugh. We spent so much time being serious, and while there's times to be serious, and it's okay to laugh. And so, like I said, I mean, we'd bring this up years later, and it would just continue on. Uh, and then the other memories I have of him is, when I've been unemployed, uh, he would always he would always reach out and see if I wanted to get together for breakfast and just talk through things were on my mind. And we just did that about a year ago, I think, was like the last time, excuse me, we had a conversation. When I say unemployed, I mean from, corporate America, what a lot of people think of as jobs. Manufacturing is huge. There's such a huge need for that everywhere in the world, especially here in the United States. Anyway, so we would talk, and I I remember driving there. So we live, I don't know, maybe like an hour apart. And so when we were meeting halfway. And this is a true story. And so I'm driving. I'm about, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles away from the exit. We were going to eat at uh, a place for lunch, a restaurant. And so I'm driving, and all of a sudden I see the gauge in the car where it has like C for cool and C for cool and H for like overheating. And so it just started like it went all the way to H, and then it just kept it was just like a ping pong, uh, whatever you would call it, ping pong, where the little bar that hits the ball and that. And so that was happening. And so to me, it said like it was doing that. And I've never seen my car do that before, any car. And it did it. And so I pulled over right away, and I called him and I said, "Hey, here's what's going on. I don't know what to do." And he was like, "Well, how far away are you are?" And And so I told him, he goes, "Oh, you're just about, like a mile and a half or so away." Um, and he goes, like, get it. He goes, "I have AAA, we can get your car towed to a shop to get it looked at, but if you couldn't get it to where we're eating, then he could be there." This is where I was at. It was a little bit tricky for him to go the opposite direction and then go several exits, then turn around and come back. Uh, and so I just took it slow. I had my hazard lights on, they're flashing, and I just went as slow as I could, made it there. And so we talked about that. Then we talked about work, and then after that, he called AAA for me. He didn't have to do that. Uh, he didn't have to do that. And so I ended up getting my car towed to a shop that was closer to where we reside. Uh, but he didn't even like think twice about it. He's just like, "Oh, I got AAA. Uh, let's grab, let's get something to eat and talk, and then after that, then we'll figure out the car situation." And like I said, that was like a year ago, if that. And so that he was the individual who had passed away. We were at the calling hours the other day, and I mean, I'm just an emotional person, and so I started tearing up. They had the urn, they had the flag, being a veteran, flowers, picture, like a big picture of him just laughing. And then they had bulletin boards. I don't know, there probably was 10 bulletin boards with pictures throughout the years with family. And um, I was able to find two pictures. One the family had of my mom and dad together. And so I had to take a picture of that because it was a picture that I hadn't seen, or if I have it, I don't remember seeing it, I guess. And then there was another one where the four of them, my mom, my dad, him and his wife, were at a ball game, and somebody had took a picture, and they're in the same row, and so they're looking, and um, so took a picture of that. Um, and so it was very, very bittersweet. Um, and I mean, that's one of the parts of life that it just stinks. It just, it just stinks because we're used to seeing these people. I even talk about my dad, just over 2 years ago, him passing. I mean, it's just it's not fun. And so while we get to see sometimes, people that we do know at these services, the person that is not there, we're used to seeing, with, their significant other. And then you start to realize that they're not on earth anymore. And we pray that they're in heaven. And so some people will say, wow, you're maybe going through these sad times helps us be stronger. I don't know that I think of it like that because I would rather have that person here because I don't feel stronger. And even if that was the case, I don't I don't know. I don't know that it makes me stronger at all. It just puts me in a situation where emotions, take over. We talked a couple episodes ago, I think, or maybe it was the last one, about a couple people taking their own lives. And so I think I just want to, close out by saying, we don't know when the last time we're going to see a person. We don't know what day, week, month, year, hour, second. We don't know that. And so sometimes that brings in emotions for me because I'm thinking, I wonder if, if we had a picture together, I wonder in what picture are people going to pick out for when I pass away? I mean, I'm just trying to keep it real here. I mean, what pictures are going to be on the bulletin boards for me? I mean, none of us, like I said, none of us are getting out of this life alive. So sometime, whether we want to or not, it'll be our time to go and hopefully be going to heaven. And so I don't think I know. That's why Voices for Voices is so ingrained with who I am. Because I've spent more than my fair share of time on myself and my ego and everything. And now over 530 episodes of a show that we had the goal of, reaching 100 and 200 and 300, but then to actually accomplish those goals, that's why, because there's going to be a time I'm not going to be on Earth, but our shows may still be, and it still might help somebody. So that's when I say that the big overarching goal for us is to reach and help at least 3 billion people. Not today, not tomorrow, but over the course of my life and beyond. And that beyond is when I hope I'm in heaven. So somebody may be watching, listening, and 100 years from now, stumble across this show, this episode, another episode, maybe all of them. And so I don't take it lightly every time I get in front of this camera. It's heavy things we talk about. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of the Voices for Voices family. Again, if you can give us thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe, share, reshare, repost, reach out to 25 or 50 contacts in your phone and share the Voices for Voices podcast with them. Let them know they can find it, the Voices for Voices podcast, wherever they get their podcasts. We're everywhere. Also follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and one of our subsidiaries, Mythical Creatures Around the World Facebook page. That's where you're gonna be up to date just as you will be with our shows. And we are a nonprofit. I'm not asking you to donate, but we do accept donations if that so moves you or anybody else. If you're here in the United States and you donate, the full donation is 100% federally tax deductible. And you can do that easily by going to lovevoices.org, lovevoices.org, lovevoices.org. Thank you very much for being with us. Let's celebrate the voices of everybody all across the world. And let's be a voice for ourselves and maybe somebody else that's in need. So have a great day, great afternoon, great evening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.